Maria Santos wiped the sweat from her forehead as she scrubbed the marble floors of the mansion's grand entrance hall. The 50-room estate belonged to the Harrison twins, two of the youngest billionaires in the country. At 28 years, old Maria had been working as their head maid for 3 years, sending most of her paycheck back home to support her sick mother and younger siblings in the Philippines. The Harrison mansion was like a small city. With its indoor swimming pools, private cinema, wine cellars, and helicopter landing pad, it required a staff of 42 people to maintain. Maria knew every corner of this place better than anyone else. She had started as the lowest-ranking cleaner but worked her way up through dedication and attention to detail that impressed even the pickiest supervisors. Marcus and Matthew Harrison were identical twins who had inherited their father's tech empire at age 25. Now 30, they were known for their cold business approach and demanding perfectionist standards. Most staff members lasted only a few months before quitting from the pressure. Maria had survived because she genuinely cared about her work and treated the mansion like her own home. The twins rarely spoke to the household staff directly. They communicated through their personal assistant, Mrs. Chen, who had worked for the family for 15 years. Maria had only exchanged a few words with Marcus and Matthew during her entire employment, usually just polite greetings when they passed in the hallways. On this particular Tuesday morning, Maria noticed something unusual. Mrs. Chen looked worried as she gathered all the department heads for an emergency meeting. The head chef, head gardener, security chief, and other senior staff crowded into the staff break room. Maria, being the head of housekeeping, was included in this group. Mrs. Chen's voice trembled slightly as she delivered the shocking news. The Harrison family's main technology company had suffered massive losses due to a failed product launch and several lawsuits. The twins were facing financial difficulties they had never experienced before. To cut costs immediately, they had made the painful decision to terminate the employment of all household staff, effective at the end of the week. The room fell silent. Several staff members began crying. These jobs paid well above average, and many people had moved their families to the area specifically for these positions. The head chef had been with the family for 8 years. The head gardener had transformed the estate's landscape over a decade. Everyone was devastated. Mrs. Chen explained that each employee would receive 2 weeks' severance pay and positive references. The twins would be keeping only their personal security team and one assistant. They planned to close most of the mansion and live in a smaller section while they worked to rebuild their business empire. Maria felt her world crashing down around her. Without this job, she couldn't afford to send money home to her family. Her mother needed expensive medical treatments for her heart condition. Her 2 younger brothers were in university, depending on Maria's support to continue their education. She had no savings because every dollar went to her family's needs. That evening, Maria called her mother to break the news. Her mother tried to sound brave, telling Maria not to worry and that everything would work out. But Maria could hear the fear in her voice. The medical bills were piling up, and her brothers might have to drop out of school to find work instead. Unable to sleep, Maria walked through the mansion's halls one last time as an employee. She thought about all the late nights she had spent polishing silverware, the early mornings preparing guest rooms, and the satisfaction she felt when everything was perfect. This place had become her second home, and now she would lose it forever. As she passed by the library, Maria noticed a light was still on. Through the slightly open door, she could see Marcus Harrison sitting alone, surrounded by stacks of papers and financial documents. He looked exhausted and defeated, running his hands through his hair in frustration. For the first time, Maria saw him not as an intimidating billionaire, but as a young man facing enormous pressure and responsibility. She almost walked away, but something made her stop. Maria had always been taught to help others when they were struggling, regardless of their social status. She gently knocked on the door and asked if Mr. Harrison needed anything, perhaps some coffee or a late dinner. Marcus looked up, surprised, to see Maria at this late hour. He politely declined her offer but seemed touched by her kindness. As Maria turned to leave, she noticed financial papers scattered on the floor. Without thinking, She began picking them up and organizing them, neatly on the desk. Marcus watched her careful, methodical approach to arranging the documents. In that quiet moment, Marcus realized something he had never noticed before. While he and his brother had been focused on big-picture business strategies, Maria had been managing the complex daily operations of their household with incredible skill and efficiency. She coordinated schedules, managed budgets, supervised staff, and maintained quality standards across dozens of different areas. The next morning brought more bad news. Mrs. Chen announced that the situation was even worse than initially thought. The twins would need to sell the mansion within 60 days to pay their debts. They were moving to a small apartment and would handle their own cooking and cleaning. The fairy tale life they had known was over. Maria spent her remaining days training the minimal security staff on basic household maintenance. She created detailed instruction manuals for everything from operating the complex heating and cooling systems to maintaining the exotic plants in the greenhouse. Even though she was losing her job, she wanted to ensure the property would be properly cared for until new owners took over. On her final Friday, Maria packed her few personal belongings into a small suitcase. As she prepared to leave the mansion, forever she had no idea that her simple act of kindness in the library had planted a seed that would soon change everything. Maria moved into a tiny studio apartment in the cheapest part of town. The place was barely larger than one of the walk-in closets in the Harrison mansion. The walls were thin, the heating barely worked, and she could hear every conversation from neighboring apartments. But it was all she could afford while searching for a new job. Job hunting proved more difficult than Maria expected. Most wealthy families in the area had heard about the Harrison family's financial troubles and were hesitant to hire staff from a failed household. Employment agencies offered her positions that paid half of what she had earned before. Fast food restaurants and retail stores were hiring, but those salaries wouldn't cover even her basic living expenses, let alone support her family back home. Meanwhile, Marcus and Matthew Harrison were discovering just how challenging daily life could be without their army of staff. Their small downtown apartment was constantly messy. They burned dinner almost every night because neither had ever learned to cook properly. Simple tasks like grocery shopping, laundry, and cleaning took hours of their valuable time they needed to spend rebuilding their business. Matthew, the more impulsive twin, wanted to hire at least a part-time housekeeper. But Marcus insisted they couldn't afford any luxury expenses until their company was profitable again. They had exactly 6 months of living expenses saved up, and every dollar needed to be carefully managed. The twins' business situation was complicated. Their main product, a revolutionary smartphone app for business management, had failed because of poor user interface design and technical glitches. Competitors had copied their best ideas and executed them better. Several clients were suing for damages, claiming the app had caused them to lose important data. Marcus spent 18 hours a day trying to fix the technical problems while Matthew handled legal issues and attempted to rebuild relationships with investors. They had fired most of their employees and were working from their apartment, using their dining table as a conference room and their bedroom as a server storage area. 3 weeks after losing her job, Maria was walking through the downtown business district, returning from another unsuccessful job interview. She passed by the twins' apartment building and recognized Matthew Harrison coming out of a coffee shop. He looked terrible, unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes and carrying a garbage bag full of what appeared to be takeout containers and dirty laundry. Maria's first instinct was to avoid him, feeling embarrassed about her own situation. But her natural kindness overcame her pride. She approached Matthew and politely asked how he was managing. Matthew, stressed and exhausted, found himself telling Maria about their struggles with basic daily tasks that were keeping them from focusing on their business recovery. Without hesitation, Maria offered to help. She explained that she had time available and would be happy to handle their cooking, cleaning, and household organization in exchange for a small payment, much less than they had paid her before, but enough to help her survive while continuing her job search. Matthew was immediately interested, but he explained they couldn't afford to pay her regular wages. Maria surprised him by suggesting a different arrangement. Instead of a traditional salary, she proposed working for basic living expenses plus a small percentage of any profits when their business became successful again. If their company failed completely, she would accept the loss and find other work. That evening, Matthew discussed Maria's proposal with Marcus. Marcus was skeptical about taking on any employee, even at reduced cost. But Matthew pointed out how much time they were wasting on household tasks and how their productivity had suffered. They were brilliant businessmen, but they were spending hours every day struggling with problems that Maria could solve in minutes. Marcus remembered the night in the library when Maria had organized his scattered papers with such careful attention to detail. He realized she had demonstrated the same systematic thinking and problem-solving abilities that made great business managers. Perhaps there was more to this arrangement than just having someone to cook and clean. They called Maria and arranged a meeting. Maria arrived at their apartment and was shocked by the chaos. Dirty dishes were piled in the sink. Important business documents were scattered across every surface, and the twins looked like they hadn't slept properly in weeks. The apartment smelled like burned food and stress. Maria didn't judge or criticize. Instead, she quietly began organizing their space while they talked. She sorted business documents from personal papers, grouped similar items together, and created logical systems for finding things quickly. As she worked, she asked intelligent questions about their business challenges. The twins were impressed by Maria's questions. She wanted to understand not just what needed to be cleaned, but why their current systems weren't working efficiently. She noticed they were losing time searching for contracts, missing important deadlines because of poor organization, and making mistakes due to the chaotic environment. Maria proposed expanding her role beyond traditional household management. She offered to become their personal assistant, handling scheduling, organization, communication with lawyers and clients, and basic business administration. She had observed their work patterns for years and understood how they preferred to operate. Marcus and Matthew looked at each other and realized this could be exactly what they needed. They were trying to rebuild a multi-million-dollar company while also learning how to survive without the support system they had taken for granted. Maria offered them the chance to focus entirely on the work they did best. They agreed to a trial period of 1 month. Maria would live in their spare room, handle all household responsibilities, and assist with business administration. In return, she would receive basic living expenses and a small percentage of any future profits. If their company succeeded, she would eventually become a full partner in their business operations. Maria moved out of her terrible studio apartment that same day. As she unpacked her single suitcase in the twins' spare room, she felt hope for the first time in weeks. She wasn't just getting a job back. She was getting an opportunity to prove that her skills and dedication could contribute to something bigger than household management. The next morning, Maria woke up before dawn and prepared a proper breakfast for the twins. When Marcus and Matthew emerged from their bedrooms, they found hot coffee, fresh fruit, and perfectly cooked eggs waiting for them. More importantly, they found their business documents organized into clear categories and their schedule for the day written neatly on a whiteboard. For the first time in months, the twins felt ready to tackle their business challenges with clear minds and organized workspace. They had no idea that Maria's real talents were just beginning to show. Within the first week of their new arrangement, Maria had transformed the twins' chaotic apartment into an efficient workspace. She created separate areas for different business functions, installed proper lighting for long work sessions, and established daily routines that maximized productivity. But her most valuable contribution wasn't organizational. It was her fresh perspective on their business problems. During her years as head maid, Maria had quietly observed how the Harrison household operated like a complex business. She had managed budgets, coordinated multiple departments, solved scheduling conflicts, and maintained quality standards under pressure. These were the same skills needed to run a company, just on a different scale. When Maria reviewed the twins' failed app, she immediately identified problems that their expensive consultants had missed. The user interface was designed by technical experts who understood software, but not the daily challenges of actual business managers. The app was too complicated for busy people who needed quick solutions. Maria had a unique advantage. She had worked directly with the people who would use this type of app. During her time managing the mansion's staff, she had dealt with scheduling software, inventory management systems, and communication tools. She knew exactly what features were helpful and what features just created confusion. She suggested they start over with a simpler approach. Instead of trying to build one app that did everything, they should create several smaller apps that each solved one specific problem perfectly. Maria recommended starting with employee scheduling, since this was something she had struggled with in every job she had ever held. Marcus was initially resistant to taking business advice from someone without formal education or experience in technology. But Matthew encouraged him to listen. They had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on consultants and advisors, and none of their suggestions had worked. Maybe they needed ideas from someone who actually understood their potential customers. Maria spent her evenings researching their target market. She reached out to former colleagues from various households, friends working in restaurants and retail stores, and small business owners in her neighborhood. She conducted informal interviews to understand what these people really needed from business management software. The feedback was consistent. Existing solutions were too expensive, too complicated, or required too much training. People wanted something simple enough to learn in 5 minutes, but powerful enough to handle their daily challenges. They were willing to pay for software that actually saved them time and stress. Based on this research, Maria created a detailed proposal for their new product direction. She presented it to the twins using skills she had learned from years of training new staff members, breaking complex ideas into simple steps, using real examples, and focusing on practical benefits rather than technical features. Marcus and Matthew were amazed by the quality of Maria's presentation. She had identified their target customers more accurately than expensive market research firms. Her proposed features were based on actual user needs rather than assumptions. Most importantly, she had a clear vision for how to make their product different from competitors. They decided to rebuild their company around Maria's insights. Marcus would handle the technical development, Matthew would manage business operations, and Maria would lead customer research and product design. It was an unusual partnership, but they were desperate enough to try unconventional approaches. The first challenge was funding. The twins had enough money to survive for several more months, but developing new software required additional investment. Traditional investors were reluctant to fund their previous failures, and banks wouldn't loan money to a company with recent losses. Maria suggested starting with a very simple version of their scheduling app and finding customers who would pay in advance for the full product. Instead of seeking large investments, they could fund development through pre-sales to small businesses who desperately needed better scheduling solutions. This approach required them to work directly with potential customers from the beginning. Maria arranged meetings with restaurant managers, retail store supervisors, and service business owners. She explained their concept and asked people to commit to purchasing the software once it was finished. The response was encouraging. Many business owners were frustrated with current scheduling options and willing to pay for something better. Maria collected deposits from 25 customers during their first month of outreach. This gave them enough funding to begin serious development work. Maria also contributed in unexpected ways to their business development. Her experience managing household budgets helped them create realistic financial projections. Her skills in training staff members translated perfectly to creating user manuals and tutorial videos. Her network of contacts in service industries provided valuable feedback throughout the development process. As they worked together, the twins began to see Maria as much more than an employee. She wasn't just following their instructions, she was actively contributing ideas that improved their business strategy. Her insights came from years of practical experience solving real problems for real people. The transformation in their daily work environment was remarkable. Instead of spending hours searching for documents or trying to remember important deadlines, they could focus entirely on productive tasks. Maria maintained their schedules, handled routine communications, and ensured they never missed important meetings or obligations. More importantly, Maria brought a sense of stability and calm to their high-stress situation. When technical problems seemed impossible to solve, she helped them break challenges into manageable pieces. When potential customers had concerns, She translated between technical language and practical needs. When the twins disagreed on strategy, she offered perspectives that helped them find compromise. After 2 months of working together, their first scheduling app was ready for testing. Maria had recruited 15 small businesses to try the software and provide feedback. The initial response was overwhelmingly positive. Users found the app intuitive, reliable, and genuinely helpful for their daily operations. Based on customer feedback, they refined the app and prepared for official launch. Maria created marketing materials that spoke directly to business owners' frustrations and clearly explained how their product provided solutions. She handled customer service inquiries and gathered suggestions for future improvements. The twins realized they had discovered something valuable. Maria wasn't just helping them rebuild their previous business. She was helping them create a better company with stronger foundations. Her combination of practical experience, customer focus, and genuine dedication was exactly what they needed to succeed in a competitive market. As they prepared for their product launch, Marcus and Matthew made an important decision. They officially offered Maria a permanent partnership in their company, with equal decision-making authority and profit sharing. She would no longer be an employee working for wages. She would be a co-founder building something meaningful together. Maria accepted their offer, knowing this was the opportunity she had been working toward her entire life. She was no longer just a poor maid trying to survive. She was becoming a successful businesswoman with the skills and determination to build something lasting. The launch of their new scheduling app exceeded everyone's expectations. Within the first month, they had over 200 paying customers, and word-of-mouth recommendations were bringing in new users daily. Small business owners were sharing the app with their networks, praising its simplicity and effectiveness. Maria's approach of solving real problems for real people was proving more successful than any expensive marketing campaign. The positive response created new challenges. Customer support requests were flooding in, not because the app had problems, but because satisfied users wanted additional features and capabilities. Restaurants needed inventory management, retail stores wanted employee time tracking and service. Businesses requested customer appointment scheduling. Their simple scheduling app was becoming the foundation for a comprehensive business management platform. Marcus, Matthew, and Maria worked 18-hour days to keep up with demand. They hired 2 additional programmers and a customer service representative, but Maria remained the primary contact for understanding customer needs and translating them into product requirements. Her ability to communicate with business owners in their own language made her invaluable for maintaining customer relationships. The financial transformation was remarkable. Their company went from near bankruptcy to generating significant monthly revenue in less than 6 months. Maria was finally able to send substantial amounts of money home to her family. Her mother could afford the medical treatments she needed, her brothers could continue university, and Maria even had savings for the first time in her adult life. More importantly, Maria was gaining recognition in the business community. Local newspapers wrote articles about the unusual partnership between 2 former billionaires and their former maid. Business magazines featured stories about their customer-focused approach to product development. Maria was invited to speak at conferences about entrepreneurship and innovation. The attention brought unexpected opportunities. Venture capital firms that had previously ignored the twins were now competing to invest in their growing company. Major corporations wanted to license their software for internal use. International business organizations invited them to expand into overseas markets. Maria found herself negotiating deals worth millions of dollars with executives who had no idea about her background. Her years of managing household budgets and coordinating complex schedules had prepared her for financial discussions and strategic planning. She approached business negotiations with the same careful attention to detail that had made her an excellent head maid. The twins were amazed by Maria's natural business abilities. She could analyze complicated contracts, identify potential problems, and negotiate favorable terms without any formal legal or financial training. Her practical experience and common-sense approach often led to better outcomes than expensive consultants could achieve. As their company grew, they faced decisions about expansion and long-term strategy. Several large corporations offered to buy their business for enormous sums. The offers were tempting, especially considering their recent financial struggles, but Maria encouraged them to maintain independence and continue building their own empire. Her reasoning was practical and strategic. Selling to a large corporation would provide immediate wealth but would limit their ability to serve small business customers effectively. Big companies would likely change their simple, affordable approach to maximize profits from enterprise clients. Maria believed their real value came from understanding and serving small business owners, who were overlooked by most software companies. The twins agreed with Maria's analysis, and they declined the acquisition offers. Instead, they used some of their profits to expand their development team and create additional apps based on customer requests. Maria led the customer research for each new product, ensuring they continued to solve real problems rather than creating complicated solutions in search of problems. Their second app focused on inventory management for small restaurants and retail stores. Maria had learned about these challenges during her years managing household supplies and coordinating with various vendors. She understood the difference between theoretical inventory management and the practical reality of tracking supplies, while handling dozens of other daily responsibilities. The inventory app was even more successful than their scheduling software. Restaurant owners particularly appreciated features that helped them reduce food waste and manage supplier relationships more effectively. The app paid for itself within the first month of use for most customers, creating strong customer loyalty and positive reviews. By the end of their first year as business partners, their company was generating over $2 million in annual revenue. They had 12 employees, offices in a prestigious downtown building, and customers in 15 states. Maria had transformed from an unemployed domestic worker to a successful technology entrepreneur. The personal transformation was equally significant. Maria's confidence had grown tremendously through her business success. She enrolled in evening business classes to formalize her knowledge of accounting, marketing, and management. She joined professional organizations and built networks with other entrepreneurs and business leaders. Maria also began mentoring other people from similar backgrounds who were trying to build better lives for themselves and their families. She offered job opportunities to former household staff members who had skills that could transfer to business environments. She established a scholarship fund to help children of domestic workers attend college. The Harrison twins had also grown through their experience. Working closely with Maria had taught them to value different perspectives and recognize talent that didn't come with traditional credentials. They became advocates for promoting people based on ability and results rather than educational background or social connections. Their business partnership had evolved into a genuine friendship built on mutual respect and shared goals. Maria was no longer the employee grateful for any opportunity. She was an equal partner whose ideas and insights drove their company's success. The twins relied on her judgment for major decisions and trusted her to represent their company in important negotiations. As they prepared to launch their third app focused on customer relationship management for service businesses, they reflected on how much their lives had changed. 18 months earlier, the twins had been facing bankruptcy and Maria had been unemployed and desperate. Now they were building a successful company that was improving life for thousands of small business owners. The story of their partnership began attracting attention from book publishers and movie producers. Business schools wanted to use their case study to teach students about unconventional approaches to entrepreneurship. International media outlets featured their story as an example of how economic difficulties could lead to innovative solutions. Maria was particularly proud that their success was helping other people achieve their own goals. Every customer who saved time and money using their apps could focus more energy on growing their own businesses. Every employee they hired had better opportunities to support their families and build careers in the technology industry. But Maria knew their biggest challenges were still ahead. Success had brought new competitors who were copying their ideas and trying to steal their customers. Maintaining their rapid growth rate would require continuous innovation and expansion into new markets. Most importantly, they needed to preserve the customer-focused culture that had made them successful as they grew from a small startup to a major company. 2 years after their partnership began, Maria, Marcus, and Matthew faced their biggest challenge yet. Three major technology companies had launched competing products that directly copied their most successful features. These corporations had massive marketing budgets, established customer relationships, and the ability to offer their software at extremely low prices to drive smaller competitors out of the market. The competitive pressure was intense. Several of their customers switched to cheaper alternatives, and new customer acquisition became much more difficult. Their growth rate slowed significantly, and they had to make tough decisions about expenses and future investments. Some employees, worried about job security and investor confidence, began to waver. Maria refused to panic. Her experience managing households during economic difficulties had taught her that survival often required creative thinking rather than increased spending. Instead of trying to compete directly on price or marketing budget, she proposed focusing on what made their company unique: their deep understanding of small business operations and their commitment to customer success. She developed a comprehensive customer retention strategy based on personal relationships and superior service. While their competitors treated customers as account numbers, Maria ensured every client received individual attention and customized solutions. She created a customer success program where each business owner had direct access to their development team for suggestions and support. This approach required significant time investment but produced remarkable results. Customers who might have switched to cheaper alternatives instead became passionate advocates for their products. Small business owners appreciated being treated as partners rather than transactions. They provided detailed feedback that helped improve the software and often referred new customers to the company. Maria also identified a market opportunity that their larger competitors were ignoring. Many small businesses were owned by immigrants and people from diverse cultural backgrounds who needed software that could handle multiple languages and different business practices. Large corporations designed their products for mainstream markets and didn't invest in features that served smaller demographic groups. Working with her network of contacts from various communities, Maria researched the specific needs of immigrant-owned businesses. She discovered that language barriers, cultural differences in business practices, and lack of familiarity with American software conventions were major obstacles for many potential customers. The twins were initially hesitant to invest resources in what seemed like a niche market, but Maria's research showed this demographic represented millions of small businesses that were underserved by existing software companies. More importantly, these business owners were extremely loyal to companies that understood and supported their unique challenges. They developed specialized versions of their apps with multiple language options, cultural customization features, and simplified interfaces designed for users who might not be comfortable with complex technology. Maria personally visited business districts in immigrant communities, building relationships with business owners and demonstrating how their software could help them succeed. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Immigrant business owners were grateful to find software that respected their cultural needs and provided support in their preferred languages. They formed tight communities of users who shared tips and helped each other maximize the benefits of the software. This created a loyal customer base that was much less likely to switch to competitors. Within 6 months, their specialized market approach had generated enough new revenue to offset losses from mainstream competition. More importantly, they had discovered a sustainable competitive advantage. Large corporations were unwilling to invest in serving diverse communities because the market segments were too small for their business models. This gave Maria's company a protected space to grow and innovate. The success of their diversity-focused strategy attracted attention from business leaders and social organizations. Maria was invited to speak at conferences about inclusive entrepreneurship and building products that served underrepresented communities. She became a recognized expert on developing technology solutions for diverse small business markets. Her speaking engagements and media appearances brought new business opportunities. Government agencies wanted to hire their company to help immigrant entrepreneurs succeed. Nonprofit organizations needed software solutions for community development programs. International trade associations were interested in their approach to cross-cultural business software. As Maria's public profile grew, she faced unexpected personal challenges. Some people questioned whether she was qualified to represent their company at high-level business events. Critics suggested that her success was due to luck or the twins' charity rather than genuine business ability. A few media outlets focused more on her background as a maid than her achievements as an entrepreneur. These criticisms hurt, but they also motivated Maria to prove herself through results rather than credentials. She enrolled in an executive MBA program, studying business theory while continuing to run the company's customer success operations. She joined boards of directors for small business advocacy organizations and became a mentor for other women entrepreneurs from diverse backgrounds. Marcus and Matthew strongly supported Maria during this difficult period. They publicly defended her qualifications and contributions to their company's success. They made it clear that Maria was not their employee or protege, but their equal partner, whose ideas and leadership had been essential to building their business. The twins also used their experience to advocate for recognizing talent and ability, regardless of traditional credentials. They spoke at business schools about the importance of diversity in leadership and the value of practical experience. Their story became a case study in how successful companies could be built by teams with unconventional backgrounds and perspectives. By the end of their third year in business, their company had become a major player in small business software. They served over 10,000 customers across 25 states, employed 60 people, and generated annual revenue exceeding $10 million. Maria's customer-focused strategies and market insights had been crucial to achieving this growth, despite intense competition. More importantly, their company culture reflected Maria's values of treating people with respect and dignity, regardless of their background. They hired employees from diverse communities, provided advancement opportunities based on performance rather than credentials, and maintained strong connections with the small business owners they served. Maria's personal financial situation had transformed completely. She was able to bring her mother to the United States for advanced medical treatment, send her brothers to prestigious universities, and purchase a beautiful home for her family. She established a foundation to provide business training and microloans for women entrepreneurs from immigrant communities. But her greatest satisfaction came from seeing how their software was helping small business owners achieve their dreams. Restaurant owners could spend more time creating great food instead of managing schedules. Retail store operators could focus on serving customers rather than tracking inventory. Service business owners could build stronger relationships with clients instead of wrestling with appointment systems. As they prepared for their next phase of growth, Maria reflected on the journey that had brought her from unemployment and desperation to business success and community leadership. The skills she had developed as a maid, attention to detail, problem-solving, customer service, and efficient organization, had proven to be exactly what was needed to build a successful technology company. Looking ahead, Maria saw unlimited possibilities for expanding their impact and serving more small businesses around the world. But she also knew that their future success would depend on maintaining the values and relationships that had made their partnership so effective from the beginning. 5 years after Maria first knocked on the library door to offer Marcus Harrison a cup of coffee, she stood before an audience of 500 business leaders at the National Small Business Conference. As the keynote speaker, she was sharing the story of how a partnership born from desperation had become one of the fastest-growing technology companies in the country. Their company now served over 50,000 small businesses across all 50 states and had expanded internationally to Canada, Mexico, and the Philippines. They employed 200 people across multiple offices, with annual revenue exceeding $50 million. Maria had become one of the most recognized advocates for small business success and inclusive entrepreneurship in the technology industry. The journey to this moment had not been without challenges. 3 years earlier, they had faced a major crisis when a data breach compromised customer information. While the technical problem was quickly resolved, the incident damaged their reputation and led to several lawsuits. Some customers left permanently, and competitors used the situation to question their security capabilities. Maria had taken personal responsibility for rebuilding customer trust. She visited affected businesses in person, explaining what had happened and demonstrating the enhanced security measures they had implemented. Her genuine concern and transparent communication helped restore confidence, but the process took nearly 18 months and required significant investment in new technology and security staff. The crisis had actually strengthened their company, culture, and customer relationships. Small business owners appreciated Maria's honesty and personal accountability during a difficult time. Many customers became even more loyal because they felt their concerns were genuinely heard and addressed. The experience taught the entire team valuable lessons about crisis management and the importance of maintaining customer trust. During her conference presentation, Maria reflected on the lessons learned throughout their entrepreneurial journey. The most important insight was that business success required much more than good ideas or technical skills. Building lasting relationships, understanding customer needs, and maintaining integrity during difficult times were equally crucial for long-term success. She emphasized how her background as a domestic worker had provided unexpected advantages. In business leadership, managing a household required many of the same skills needed to run a company: coordinating multiple priorities, solving problems efficiently, managing budgets carefully, and ensuring customer satisfaction. The main difference was scale, not fundamental approach. Maria also spoke about the importance of recognizing talent and potential in unconventional places. Their company had hired former restaurant workers, retail employees, and service industry professionals who brought valuable practical experience to technology development. These employees often understood customer needs better than traditional programmers or business school graduates. The audience was particularly interested in their approach to company culture and employee development. Maria explained how they had created advancement opportunities for people regardless of their educational background or previous experience. Their most successful customer service managers had started as entry-level support staff, and several of their best product managers had begun in completely different industries. After her presentation, Maria was approached by investors, potential partners, and other entrepreneurs who wanted to learn more about their business model. Several venture capital firms offered significant funding for expansion, and major corporations expressed interest in acquisition deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But Maria, Marcus, and Matthew had learned to be selective about growth opportunities. They had seen other successful companies lose their identity and customer focus after accepting outside investment or selling to larger corporations. Their priority was maintaining the values and relationships that had made them successful, rather than maximizing short-term financial returns. Instead of pursuing aggressive expansion, they focused on deepening their impact in existing markets and developing new products that served their core customer base. They launched a comprehensive business education program that provided free training to small business owners on topics like financial management, marketing strategies, and employee development. Maria personally designed the curriculum based on challenges she had observed during her years of customer interactions. The program was delivered through online courses, local workshops, and mentorship partnerships with successful business owners. Within 2 years, over 15,000 entrepreneurs had completed their training programs, and many credited the education with helping them achieve significant business growth. The education initiative also strengthened their competitive position. Customers who received business training became more successful, which increased their loyalty and willingness to recommend the software to other business owners. The program created a community of entrepreneurs who supported each other and shared best practices for using technology to improve their operations. As Maria's reputation grew, she received numerous offers to join corporate boards, lead other companies, and participate in high-profile business ventures. She accepted selected opportunities that aligned with her values, including board positions with organizations focused on immigrant entrepreneurship and women's business development. However, Maria's greatest pride came from the success stories of individual customers whose lives had been transformed by their software and support programs. She regularly received letters and emails from business owners who had expanded their operations, hired additional employees, or achieved financial stability because their technology had simplified operations and reduced costs. One particularly meaningful story involved Rosa Martinez, a single mother who had started a small catering business from her home kitchen. Using their scheduling and customer management software, Rosa had grown her operation into a successful restaurant that employed 12 people and supported her family comfortably. Rosa credited Maria's company with providing the tools and knowledge needed to transform her cooking hobby into a sustainable business. Stories like Rosa's reminded Maria why she had been willing to risk everything on an uncertain partnership with the Harrison twins. The opportunity to help other people achieve their dreams and build better lives for their families made all the challenges and hard work worthwhile. The relationship between Maria, Marcus, and Matthew had evolved into something deeper than a business partnership. They had become genuine friends who trusted each other completely and shared a common vision for their company's future. Their different backgrounds and perspectives had created a powerful combination that was stronger than any of them could have achieved individually. Marcus had developed tremendous respect for Maria's intuitive understanding of business operations and customer psychology. Her ability to identify market opportunities and build lasting relationships had been crucial to their success. Matthew appreciated Maria's steady leadership during crisis situations and her commitment to maintaining their company's values as they grew larger. For Maria, working with the twins had provided opportunities to develop skills and knowledge she never could have gained otherwise. They had supported her education, encouraged her to take on leadership roles, and helped her build confidence in high-pressure business situations. Their partnership had created possibilities that none of them had imagined when they first started working together. As their 5th anniversary as business partners approached, they made a major announcement that surprised the business community. Rather than selling their company or pursuing aggressive expansion, they were converting it into a cooperative ownership structure that would give employees and customers partial ownership stakes in the business. This decision reflected Maria's belief that the people who contributed to their success should share in the benefits. Employees who had helped build the company would become partial owners with voting rights on major decisions. Long-term customers would receive ownership shares based on their years of loyalty and referrals of new clients. The cooperative model was unusual in the technology industry, but it aligned perfectly with their company culture and values. Maria had observed how traditional corporate structures often prioritized profits over people, leading to decisions that hurt employees and customers. Their cooperative approach would ensure that growth benefited everyone who contributed to their success. The announcement generated significant media attention and sparked discussions about alternative business models in the technology industry. Some critics questioned whether the cooperative structure would limit their ability to compete and grow. But Maria was confident that their employee owners and customer partners would be even more motivated to achieve success when they directly benefited from the company's prosperity. Looking back on her journey from unemployed domestic worker to successful entrepreneur and business leader, Maria felt grateful for every experience that had prepared her for this moment. The skills she learned managing households, the resilience developed through financial hardship, and the empathy gained from serving others had all contributed to her ability to build a meaningful business.